Whoa! Look at this guy. We haven't seen this guy in a little bit. What's been going on? Not much. Not much. Man. As I've been pondering things over the past few days, whatever you want to say, it has occurred to me that this has been a very interesting ride. This has been very curious since its conception. And I've been doing a little bit of studying on certain things, and also a little bit of just enjoying some reading, I guess. The newest one is Canterbury Tales. I've been reading that, Homer, a little bit of, forgive me, I'm just everywhere. A little bit of Joseph Campbell, a little bit of Dante, the Divine Comedy. Just kind of absorbing some stuff. And it's truly hit me. And one of the main things that has hit me would be, I'm going to shut the door because these fuckers are just going to sprint full speed up and down the hallway. I've also been kind of diving into not only Joseph Campbell, but Carl Jung. I've heard the name so much, obviously. I'm culturally aware. You know what I mean? Like, I know who he is. What is he, like, is he from Switzerland? Begins with an S. But he speaks German? I don't remember. Anyway, psychologist, psychoanalyst, whatever the difference is. And I've been listening to some of his, how would you say, other people interpreting what his work is. You know, talking about the shadow self, talking about the anima and the animus, and talking about consciousness and all this shit. And it, as I've been listening to it, I've been feeling it. It's been hitting me on a level where I'm like, yeah, of course, this seems to make a lot of sense. You know, the inner feminine inside the masculine, the shadow self, the darker side of you that, you know, can come forth and taint the way you see the world and all this stuff. And it makes a hell of a lot of sense. So I'm like, okay, like, maybe we'll get his Red Book, and maybe we'll get a couple other ones. Not really sure right now. Just kind of in limbo when it comes to all that stuff. But as I've been listening, and we're talking about working with your inner self, and we're talking about trying to understand yourself, and I was like, man, I wonder how I can do this. I wonder how I can really communicate with myself and have, as I'm seeing, a shamanistic experience. Now, it was Joseph Campbell that when he talked about having a shamanistic experience, it wasn't necessarily like a priest where there's like this deity that was there first, and then you just are the one that, you know, not necessarily speaks through it, but you're the speaker on the behalf of mankind, you know, Christian kind of shit, and the Jews, of course. But we're talking about shamanism, which is the deities inside of yourself and communicating with them and trying to take what you learn and give it out to the world. It's a totally eternal, internal experience. Now I connect that idea with, you know, Carl Jung's, you know, working with the inner self and the shadow and talking to, as he kind of termed, these inner personalities, I think. I don't remember his exact wording, but if you know anything about him, you've already got this, right? And I'm starting to see all this kind of come hand in hand. It's like, okay, we're talking about, one could call them internal deities, one could call them personality archetypes, and, you know, parts of yourself that are neglected, but they're all you writhing inside. We're talking about all the different personalities. And I'm seeing similarities to this. I'm saying, well, there's some shit that's very similar here. How can we begin this process? And then it fucking hit me. I'm like, well, what are the books? You know, you look at the Forgotten series and you see Dove and Thies and all that. Those are deities, man. Like, those are internal beings that you're working with. And you're talking about Eris, Cypherus, Nacum, and the later characters subsequently in the series that happens, obviously what I'm writing. So I'm like, you are actively doing this. You are communicating with these internal beings. And in some sense, you're giving them kind of like a simulation playground, right? I have these personalities, these inner deities, these inner beings that are all part of my own psyche. They're all part of my own humanity, my personality. And what I'm in some sense doing, and this is what I see similar kind of intent on the world we're in, is I'm gathering them all up. I'm finally giving them names. I'm giving them a play, and I'm allowing them to act in the play with their own freedoms. I'm just giving them a stage, giving them a background, but the story is theirs. But in some sense, I got the script. If they deviate too far, I can kind of bring them back in. And I'm in some sense making a movie with the personalities inside of myself. Now, the reason I say I see it similar in the world around us is I'm like, well, what if that's what this is, right? There's a high being and we're just personalities of him. And he's given a grand stage and he's like, here, this is the grand play, like Shakespeare said, right? This is the grand stage and we're all players in it. What if it's just something like that? Now, maybe passively that's kind of what influenced the way I'm seeing this. I'm not really sure. I didn't sit and think, well, maybe it's like Shakespeare. It just kind of happens. And it could be very well like, well, you heard that saying, you just connect the dots subconsciously. Who gives a fuck, right? So this has all been kind of playing out of my head. So it's shamanism. Okay, Carl Jung. Learning self. And the journey inward. And I've been thinking about my journey inward and all the things that have come along the way. I've been hard at work since I was, as far as I can remember, but let's just say 21. I am 33 right now. I've been hard at work trying to figure myself out and work on this. It's not an everyday thing. And it doesn't mean every single day I spend 8 hours a day sitting pondering. It's just I've always been trying to be aware of who I am and what I'm doing and all the subsequent things about myself and what's my placement, who am I, what is my role in society and with myself, what rides within me. Can I understand those things? Is there some multitude that I am unaware of that I should be? All these different things. And for the longest time, I wasn't necessarily aware that that's what I was doing until very relatively recently. So maybe a couple years ago. My 20s was a very, very lost in the woods kind of sensation. And I have a lot of things here now. And I kind of equate it to like the Divine Comedy, how it begins, he's lost in this deep, dark wood. And to exit it, there's like this great ascent. And there's I think there's some sort of she-wolf there, a tiger maybe, and then another beast. I can't quite remember. But there's beasts guarding the way, and it's going to be treacherous. And he's thinking to himself, he's got to get out of this, but I'm too scared to go up there. This is like my 20s. I'm too scared to go and get to the point where I know I got to get up there, but I don't know how. And so in Dante's case, it's Virgil, the poet, I think he was a Roman poet, or was he Greek? I don't remember. He became his guide. And that makes a lot of sense metaphorically, because when it comes to gathering this inner strength, we rely on these beautiful things of art, whether that's poetry, paintings, writing, and you name it. We allow that to be kind of the guide to us. It's like it gives you the strength. Let's just say I watch Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, oh, Frodo took the ring to the mountain, man. Like, I can do this. And so it makes sense that would be his guide. But the biggest important part, and this is what I learned a little bit about with Freud as well, is descending into the depths of hell. Now, a lot of times I notice with Christianity, they think hell is just this fucking place you go as a punishment and whatever it is, all the years. We could get into that, but we're not here to do that shit. We already know how we feel. But in some sense, hell is a place you need to go in. If you want to be a Christian and believe that, you could say, well, that's what Jesus did. He went into the depths of hell. And he conquered that place, in a sense, I guess. I don't know. Comes out the other end and frees all the damned that were born before he was around. You know, whatever that stuff is. But that's all a metaphorical story. Not to be taken literally. To go into the depths of hell, I want to say transcend, but I feel like that has a different meaning, but it's kind of what I'm going for, to descend into this place that is something of a gauntlet that teaches you, guides you, and shows you the way so that you may find the righteous path out. In a sense, you have to confront all of the bad things in yourself that you are very aware of, but you're like pretending like, well, that's not, a big deal that I do that. Or like, well, that's only because of this person's an asshole, or whatever it is. Like, you find ways to lie. And I'm seeking to go into the depths of myself and just discover the overall truth of who I am and how I became who I became, confronting the darker side of me and being in union with it. You're not really supposed to cast out the fucking evil. You have to work with it. It's not necessarily evil. It's just the darker, or the side that you tend to hide a little bit from shame or whatever it is, like your darker thoughts, A lot of the times we get this shit wrong, seemingly, as I've been moving forward. As a short disclaimer, I'm not saying all this is right. This is just what I've gathered along the way, okay? So if you hear something like, well, that's not true, I don't know what to tell you, But gathering my thoughts, with all this being said, I sit here now and I ask myself, where are you? In this long journey, where are you at this point? I think I'm a little lost, is where I am. I think there's good intent on how we got to this point. Through the deep dark forest did we enter this darkened cave. And through that cave did we transcend into the darkened depths of myself. And we have been in here for quite some time. And I think in trying to light the place up, I've become kind of lost. This is mirrored in my second book that I'm working on. My character, as you've been seeing in the previous videos, as I've been saying, he's kind of in that similar place. And I said that he got out. Well, he got out after some sort of trial, where he entered into that place and was given a trial. And in that trial, obviously, in my mind, I don't think he necessarily accomplished it. I think he might have kind of pulled a Luke, where it's like, if you were young, you thought he did a good job, but then you realize, oh, wait, I guess he didn't. And he was able to move on and through the progress. Now, Eris is going to have to confront more inner deities along the way, and I won't ruin that. But I'm reminded about something in the Forgotten series. And we're talking about like Dove and Thais, the issues that those brothers may have. And what I was reminded of was I've been calling it the city, but I was supposed to be calling it the She. So we'll just keep calling it the city. Sidhe. And this place where the AOC lived, that was once in perfect harmony. It was a perfect place within this multidimensional understanding that I haven't really necessarily gone into great detail about. And it might be a little confusing to people when we talk about the circles and all that, but that's the fucking point. And I'm reminded that that place was once a beautiful union, but when the Titans blocked their ascent into the astral world, it cursed that place. And it said these higher beings out of place blocked the way from the lower depths of the dimensional depths of understanding, and they cut them off from higher attainment and through the astral, which is a crossroads, into the next. And I say, what does that mean? If that's what was going on in my mind, that was what's going on in my internal psyche that wanted to come out and be inside this story, how can I interpret it? Because it's kind of like this. Writing this story is like dreaming out loud. And in some sense, I'm not just quietly having my dreams over here. I'm acting them out in my waking life on a page, or in this case on YouTube videos. So what am I trying to say about that scenario? There are these beings that don't belong there, blocking my way into some sort of higher understanding. I could attach them onto the Titans and say, like, that's what like the Titans would be representing, you know, Yahweh and all that shit. Yeah, they're blocking my true growth. And in many ways, I felt that on a subconscious level and was acting it out, as you can see through these videos, of my anger towards modern religion. Not to say it's wrong, but that could be some sense of how I feel. It's like these modern religions are so limiting. I feel like I can't obtain, true enlightenment because they're blocking my way. They're forcing me into these boxes, you know, like, and nothing against Christians or anything. That's just who they are, and that's what they want. But I don't want that, you know. I see something higher than that. I don't want to fall prey. I want to obtain the heights. Not on a level of power, though. Not like I'm trying to be a god or I'm trying to transcend God. I just want to live up to what I feel I'm destined to live up to. And I'm trying to, in my mind, do what I feel he wants me to do. Now, that might go against totally someone's fundamental beliefs. That's fine. But God doesn't talk to everyone the same. I'm pretty confident on that. So, in some sense, through me, are these, let's just call them local deities. In my case, that's like Thys, Dove, later on Oapake, and all the other ones, Ake Beovak. People you don't necessarily know right now, unless you watch the Forgotten series. So, in some sense, these local deities are the crossroads between my emotional states and the archetypes that I allow into those vessels, who meets the deity, and those are being met by localized aspects of a higher deity above me. So we're meeting and converging here. Me wants to go to God, let's say. Dove's in the way. That's conveyors. That's kind of how that works. At least this is how I've been understanding it over the fucking years that I've been doing this shit. And so Dove becomes our meeting point. So when I want to channel Dove in a writing, I'm trying to channel something through him and what he experiences. So when I do that, here I am plugging into Dove. On the other end of Dove is another outlet, and that's where God can plug in. That is the point in which I try to seek understanding of how a local deity can help you find the truer God higher than you. As a Christian, we try to understand it. That's Jesus Christ. It's just this being that you have to try to be like Jesus, right? In a sense, you know. And you can work through him and pray to him because he's the vessel that allows you the transcendence into God. That's all it really is. I'm just going about it my own way in a shamanistic experience. Because I feel that our modern religion, to me, and I know it's been around for a while, you know, Christianity, I feel like it's limiting. And I feel like it's so close-minded. And I feel like it's so man. That's what turns me off. I do not hate gods. I don't hate religion. I don't hate the idea of a Jesus Christ or a Buddha or a Muhammad or, you know, you name it, prophets and stuff. I don't hate that. I just don't think that's it, man. That doesn't do anything for me. As hard as I try to sit down, I don't have it on me, but pretend this is it. with the Bible and read, I don't feel anything. It just doesn't do anything for me. People will quote me stuff. I will watch YouTube videos, people just talking about and breaking down what that means. Does nothing for me. Not even a little tickle, you know? So for the longest time, I thought it was my fault, because there are some Christians out there that will make you feel like this is fucking it, and if you don't believe it, it's you gotta fuck up. You need to find him. You need to find him. And they kind of made me feel bad about it. Like there's only one right way, and it's this way because Jesus said so. Like it made me feel like, well, then I'm the fuck up and I guess I deserve to go to hell because I don't want to go that way. I don't have any inclination to want to do that. And so I would try to keep this to myself, but as I've been trying to be honest in these videos, you're fucking hearing my opinion about it, and now it's becoming a thing. I didn't necessarily want this to be the thing, but I told myself, don't lie in these videos, tell the truth. And so I have been. It's got me a little bit of... I could tell some of my friends look at me a little differently because of it. And that's fine, you know. So in some sense, I've been self-isolating because of that as a reaction. I don't want to get into this. Amongst other things, like I'm irritated with man-made anything at this point in my life. And I can't get people around me to understand that. I don't give a fuck who's president, and I don't give a fuck about the Constitution. I don't give a shit about ISIS or, I don't know, man. Like, just name any kind of thing. You know, the borders of a country, taxes, law, vaccinations, abortions, whatever. You know, like man-made idea. I don't give a fuck. And I don't want to talk about them because they don't mean anything to me. I'm at this point now where I'm going on this inward journey. And I don't want to take with me the pain and frustration and the bullshit of man. So I've been kind of walking away from it, but a lot of people I know are very fundamental in their belief systems. And it's all these man-made constructs that they really find meaning in. But here's the disclaimer. I'm not saying they're wrong in that they shouldn't care, that they don't need to care, that they're being religious or they're being, you know, politically activated or, I don't know, just into the world of man. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not for me right now. I don't want to talk about some presidential fucking edict or whatever they call it, you know, some new bill being passed. I don't give a fuck because it doesn't mean anything to me. And I know that sounds crazy to someone in the world to say, what do you mean it doesn't mean anything to you? You're an American citizen. I'm trying to say, no, I'm not. I'm me. I'm not anything out there. And I'm not saying I never will be, but right now it's about the journey inward. So let's go back to before I made that point. So I've been self-isolating because of this stuff. I'm trying to been going on this journey, and I've been kind of getting a little lost at times. You know, I'm trying to take this man-made stuff and just set it over here for now. Let's fuck off with that for a while. Take religion, let's set that over here. Let's fuck off with that. We don't need that right now. If that doesn't mean anything to us, then there's nothing in there to find. If you don't feel a spark from an object, it doesn't bring anything to you. No matter how long you goddamn stare at it, if it doesn't, you don't feel it, you put it aside. And so I've been trying to find what the fuck is my point in this life? What is my reason? How can I find true purpose? Not only that, who the fuck am I in that? And as you've been seeing, the slow process of it. And I'm here at this point, after my break of I don't know how long, to give a little update. Where am I at now? Well, I believe I'm still quite lost, but that's not a bad thing, because I'm looking. I just think I need maybe a little bit of guidance. So I've been looking into talking to a psychologist. Someone that could kind of help me on this journey a little bit. Just some guidance, you know. Something grounded. Something that's separate from me, so it doesn't kind of keep me lost in the woods. There's nothing wrong with seeking a little bit of help. It's called finding a true mentor. And I think that's where I'm at this point. I don't feel anything entirely negative. You know, I'm not doing this shit and I'm completely suicidal or lost, and feel like there's no hope. Like, no, I don't have that. It might seem that way, but when I ask myself deep down, like, is there hope in this? I'm like, yeah, of course there is. You're on it. That's the hope. You're going to find the way through. And if you don't, well then whatever, I guess. We'll get to that point if that happens. But I feel optimistic, even though it's hard to be optimistic when you're in the dark. I'm not going to lie. There was a saying that I heard about Carl Jung that like I related to, where like he was doing this, I don't remember how it termed, but this self-work, this inner work. And he had a loaded gun in his desk just in case it got a little too heavy. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yes, it's fucking difficult. I don't have a loaded gun, obviously, in here because I don't own a gun. But if I did, I would. And just have it at the ready just in case it gets a little too much. We can blow our brains out and then it'll be over. But I understand what that sentiment was. Because it's incredibly tough. This is really hard. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. This has been the hardest fucking thing I've ever done in my entire life. And it isn't necessarily getting easier. I might be able to identify things a little bit. I might be able to find a path now. I might have a crude map that I've kind of discovered or drawn myself to kind of get through this. But it's really fucking hard. It is the hardest thing. I think people don't take it seriously enough, the inner journey, because my God. It is quite possible to lose your mind in this. I'm not gonna lie about that. And there are a few times where I felt like, man, I might lose it. I might lose it. But I knew I had to keep going. I just thought like, yeah, you might lose it, but you gotta keep going, man. So to do kind of a test, and partially to take a little bit of a mental break to recharge, I stopped working on the book. Because it's like going on this self journey and simultaneously working on the book felt like I was laying tracks and then the train was right behind it. You know what I'm saying? The train being the book, which the book is my, what's that fucking word? It's my life's work. It's my grand opus. Is that what they call that? That is my fucking statement. That is Carl Jung, The Red Book. That is J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings. That is, you name whatever artist you love and their best work. That's their fucking life. It almost killed them. Brian Wilson's Smile. That's what this book is to me. It's my fucking... This is me as a goddamn person encompassed in these pages. In this case, multiple books. And it's right behind me as I'm trying to tread through this fucking adventure. And it's just, it's a pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Because if I stop for a fucking moment, the train will derail. Because the book, which is the train, relies on this inner work. It relies on this self-work. And it's crucial that I get it right, because it's the fucking journey, man. It's the goddamn reason I'm doing this. It's in a sense capturing my soul, I guess you could say. It's capturing my journey in metaphor, and the beings inside of the book are the archetypes of myself, all in confliction with each other, which attach themselves to localized deities, which attach themselves to God. This book is too important to be like, whatever, who cares? I'm just gonna not give a fuck. At least it felt that way for a while. I've always teetered on taking shit too seriously or not taking it seriously enough. If you ask certain people in my life, they might attest to that, I don't know. Or sometimes I don't take things serious enough. But other times I'm a little too much, you know, like when you're focusing too much on this, it's not a big deal. For me, it's just a moment by moment case. You never know when you need to be serious or not. But not taking something seriously. Something I don't do with my book. Generally, a lot of my life, I don't take it too seriously. I might get irritated by it, I might live it and find some meaning, or I might not. But I don't really take it too seriously. I have other art. I have this animated series in my head, for instance. It's kind of like South Park, I guess. It's just a very dirty adult cartoon animation. And I can make episodes in seconds, and they're very, good, and they're deep and shit, but they're really fucked up and disgusting in some sense, like in a way, not of like gore or sexualization. Well, it is, but it's more of like fucked up aspects of humanity. I'm using that as the way of how I get out the darker side of humanity, at least in myself. And it's easy. Why? Because I don't fucking try. I just do. And I have these crazy characters and elaborate stories that are just so good. It's sad that they will never be written down. Honestly, I think people would really enjoy it. It'd be really hard to watch at times, but I think it'd be very, very enjoyable. Like a South Park, basically. Or whatever modern cartoons are for adults. Why is that easy? Because I'm not trying. Why is writing the book hard? Because I'm trying incredibly hard. So, in saying all of that, I need to take this break to find a way to go about it in a way where I'm not trying so hard. I'm taking this break to see if I'm on the right path and to get a pulse of where I am. I'm also taking the break to realize that sometimes we need to relax a little bit and not try so fucking hard. And I never really realized how hard I was on myself in the first place. Lastly, the break is a good idea because it helped me realize that I may need a little bit of help along the way. That if I feel this is crucial, then and I also feel that I don't want to get involved with the world of man, I might need a little bit of a mentor in this scenario to kind of guide me through this crazy adventure that we've been on. An adventure that's not been very easy, but is incredibly, I can't think of any word besides crucial, and I've said it a lot. It's very important that I do this. I've always told you in the past that I don't necessarily know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I feel compelled to do all this. And then it hits me like, what do you mean you don't know why you're doing this? You're doing this for yourself. You're trying to save yourself. What do you mean you don't know why you're doing this? You're doing that. And it's never really dawned on me. I'm like, I guess I am, huh? Everyone's journey is different. We all have our own journey to take. And I was just getting tired of being on the back of it, to being focused on everyone else's journeys. I was just so sick of it. Because a lot of their journeys are very man-made, right? In my eyes. I was glad to be a partner to them, to help them through it, but no one can help me through this, and I know that. There is not one person that can, because it's in here, it's me. You might be able to help me interpret some things, but at the end of the day, I'm the one pointing the direction that I have to go. And I'm, for the first time, being real instead of lying or pretending that I care or pretending that I know something or sometimes even pretending that I don't know, which is what I do so much that I'm sure my closest friends won't even realize how often I did that. Pretending not to know, or pretending to know, or pretending to give a fuck, or pretending that you know what I mean? Like, I did that so much. We'll talk about a topic and I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I understand, I get it, and that does suck, and I do understand. Like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't know what any of that fucking means. Even if it directly affects me. I don't know what that means, because I don't care. So it was doing that stuff, and hence why I separated myself from people. Because I'm like, who are you when you're alone? Who are you when you're by yourself? Who are you when you're at home? And the answer used to be, whoever, I'm just waiting for someone to come home so we can be them. And that's not a good thing. So it's time to just be ourselves, be okay with that. To not be ashamed of our humor, to not be ashamed of our likes and our interests, to not be ashamed of our viewpoints, our personal beliefs, our religious beliefs, to not have shame in our political beliefs. Because I always felt that way. My friends are very learned in all that stuff, and none of it meant anything to me, so I just looked at it as a bad thing on myself that I didn't care. I'm like, well, it must be a me problem. I must be the bad guy here. Because I don't want to follow Christ, you know, or whatever it is. Like, it made me feel like I'm bad. But as I've been doing this, I'm like, you're not. That's you. And that's okay that you stray from this beaten path, you know? Because it's easier to follow the road that's been followed thousands and thousands, if not millions and billions of times before. It's easier to do that because the road's already laid there. There's books made for it. Work's been done. You just follow that. And I saw that. And that's how I saw Christianity. And I was like, that's just a beaten down path. I don't want to go down that. I don't want to go down that. So I went over in some fucking uncharted territory, and though at first it may seem like that was the biggest mistake in my life, the farther down I go, the more I'm like, no, this might have been the best thing I've ever done. Because there's no one telling me which ways are traps and which ways aren't. No one's telling me what I need to do, where I need to set up camp. No one's telling me the traps and the pitfalls. It's all up to me to figure this out. I don't have a guide. The only guide that I can seek is psychology, in some sense. That at least is some sort of framework that I can kind of, okay, we'll plug in these words here, you know, if I want to. But there's part of me that might not. Though a genius Carl Jung was, maybe I want to come up with my own stuff. Just to kind of say, so when I finish my books, not to say like, here you go, here's a new way, but merely to say, hey, this is what I did. Maybe that'll encourage you to find yours, and you can make your own journey there. But we'll see, you know. Stop at a long journey. It's been incredibly hard. But to keep myself grounded, my framework is still, as much as I bitch about it, based in mankind. Through their works, Canterbury Tales, Joseph Campbell, Dante Alighieri, however you say that, works of psychology, Celtic wisdom, Welsh tales, you know, whatever, Greek stories. It's all based in humanity, as much as I pretend it's not. It really is. And hopefully, sometime soon, we can begin. But something's not quite right yet. Something's not quite there. But I wanted to give a little update to say, here's where I've been so far, and here are, in a very brief nutshell, some of the things that have been on my mind. Hopefully that made sense to somebody. Hopefully it did. If not, that's alright. Nothing makes sense anyway, right? But I shall see you hopefully sometime soon.